Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode of this podcast. Today I'm talking with Scott Winegrad, who's a plant-based and vegan chef. He's really known from working in Noma, but also working close with Chef Matthew Kenney. We're going to talk about what the future of plant-based cuisine could look like, but also how to become a plant-based chef. My name is Casper Bilton, and this is the show.
And so my heartbeat plays to your song, and it never gets old. It never gets old. Feel my heart ache when you do me wrong. Now I just wanna know.
Hey Scott.
I just wanna know.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Pretty good. I'm doing all right.
Okay, the weather looks good there.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful here.
Yeah.
Out on my little balcony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And I had to say hi from Neil from start.
Oh, awesome. Tell her I said hi back.
I will when I come home. Yeah, like it's a big honor for me to interview you a bit. Like I've been following your Instagram for a long time, and like Neil has been talking lots about you, how she like has been seeing some of your dishes and taking what she thinks she could do with hers.
Oh, nice.
So that's been awesome. So I got lots of stories from her the last couple of days.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
We spent some time in Maine and in Los Angeles together. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, you were a teacher there, or how was that set up?
I was the culinary director and head chef for the whole company. So I was like Matthew's culinary right-hand man.
Yeah. Okay. And how about now? What do you do now?
I'm a culinary director and executive chef for a wellness resort here it's in Arizona. The town's called Carefree. It's a small town.
Okay.
But I live in Scottsdale. I've been here since September.
Yeah. And is that different from being like a restaurant head chef, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's a lot different. It's usually I'm used to having the food be the center of everything, but we have a spa and there's programs and the rooms and the pool, so it's like, we're just a little piece in the big thing. So but we have a cafe that does breakfast and lunch, and then a restaurant that does just dinner, and then room service. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, so there's a lot of add-ons there.
Yeah, it's a lot of different things. Yeah, and then we have like 70 people to feed every day too, the employees, so the team. So it's a and I kind of came here because it was something that I never did before, and I wanted to see what it'd be like.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a different challenge. So
But
yeah,
has it been a challenge, or how was that?
Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, yeah, it's something new every day. But it's there's days that are worse than others, but it's been good. I mean, we're also dealing with the pandemic, and we're only there's 200 rooms, and we're keeping it very low occupancy, and it's and then those that low occupancy gets hit like on the holidays. Like we had like a good Thanksgiving and a good Christmas and New Year's, but like it's usually like not a lot of people on the resort, which feels good to begin with, but it's also like usually when things are slow, that's when things kind of like fall through the cracks, because the machine's not running very strong, so it's like, we forgot that, we missed that, and it's on everybody. It's not even just the kitchen or the culinary side. It's like the whole resort it happens with. It's like, we didn't do this, this didn't happen. So but it's all right. It's a learning experience, so it's keeping me going.
Were you guys able to keep open during like the whole season, or did you have to shut down a bit?
So what happened was they closed in March, and I was up in Portland, Oregon. I was at a restaurant called Farm Spirit. I was the partner there at this restaurant that opened a couple of years ago. The owner was my friend, and he brought me up there to kind of like, they moved from a small 14 seat kind of like tasting bar to a 30 seat restaurant, And I was still working for Matthew Kenney at the time, and I went up there to just to kind of see that friends and family, like the new place. And Aaron was my good friend, and he always was talking about stuff. And and then he basically kind of was like, "Why don't you just come up here? I'll give you a piece of the business, and you can run it. This is like a little bit too much for me to do on my own." So I jumped at the opportunity to do that, and I went up there. And then COVID happened, and just wasn't, I didn't love Portland. A little too dark, a little too rainy, a little too small. Like, it just wasn't really like my favorite place to be. But I did like the job. And then thinking about what was going on, it didn't really ever seem like we were going to come back to do what Farm Spirit was going to be like. So I started kind of just thinking, like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not, like, I don't really love Portland. And then me and Aaron, my partner there, we were talking, and he basically was just like, "Why don't I just buy you out because you're not happy here?" Kind of thing. And I had no plans what to do. And then a couple of weeks later, a recruiter just kind of, I was going to actually thought I was going back to Los Angeles. I was talking to a few people in Los Angeles about private chef work, and there was a couple of restaurants that were interested in talking to me. I did a tasting for one of them, and I just kind of thought I was going back there. And then this, Savannah, it's called, they contacted me and said, come to Arizona, let's see it. And my wife has family here, so we come to Arizona for all the holidays. So I've been coming here, not really ever thinking I would live here. But they live like 45 minutes from here in a way smaller, little kind of like not old age home kind of area, but it was like, an older community, like, like an old, so like we just stayed there with the family. We didn't really do much exploring, so I didn't really know much about it. And then we came here, I met the owners, and we did a tasting, and just kind of like fell in love with the area. So
it looks like, really nice. Like I went to the webpage, and it looks really nice.
yeah. It's really nice there. And it's it's like I said, it's slow moving. No one's like, we're not like not getting crushed with people there, and it's just kind of a good learning, slow experience, to get into. So I mean, and then honestly, like, I'm kind of like really grateful that I didn't go back to Los Angeles, because it seems like it's not getting any better there. And it's like the restaurants are closed. One restaurant that I talked to about maybe being the chef at, they fired their chef because they weren't, I don't know if they were happy with him or they just weren't busy. I heard a couple of different things, that they just it wasn't taking off. So they moved on from that. So it's just like, wow, I kind of feel like I made a good decision to kind of come here. And and again, like, I mean, it's like really nice. I mean, let me see if I can turn this around so you can see that.
I like to see.
That's my view right now. It's all those mountains, it's like,
that's crazy.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah. And there's my little Cece, my cat's hanging out with me over there.
Wow. I like.
Yeah, so great. So feeling good about that decision.
I'm half Canadian, and like my family grew up in Calgary. So like, when I see mountains, like, I just fall in love right away. I mean,
yeah, it's like mountains and like just there's like mountains and big cactuses. It's just really, I mean, Oregon was a beautiful state. California was beautiful. Like when I used to drive the Highway 1 PCH and just see like in Malibu, I used to just feel like it, like my heart would like skip because it was so beautiful. But like now I feel this this is probably the most beautiful state I've been in, or the beautiful surroundings I've been. So it feels good. It feels good to be here.
You don't get that many other places in the world.
No, not at all. Really lucky.
I even talked with Neil and said, like, when I saw your resort, and I was like, man, we need to do something like that instead of just sitting here in cold Denmark with the lockdown and all that stuff.
True, yeah. How is it there with that? How's it going? It's open up again, right?
We don't know anything. Like they're always pushing the open up like 2 weeks more. So it's a bit hard, but I think it's also it gets you to think a bit what to do and to how to get better and where to work and what to work on.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
But like I think for everybody who is used to like or who feels good in the daily work, like having like the kitchen running and all that stuff, like they become a bit dull, I think. Because
Yeah,
they don't know what to do every day, right? Like,
totally, yeah, for sure.
yeah, I can feel like with us, like we are like Neil is the creative mind, and she's always been, and I'm more in that like health and promoting thing. Like I also work in the kitchen, but she's way more in the developing, where I'm just good at saying yes. That's the
Good,
first thing you know when you work with Neil.
You know your balance. That's awesome.
That's true. I think that's important. But you also said something about like all the private chef stuff, and like for me, I'm new in it, and Neil has never done the private chef. Like, how is this different from restaurants and running a restaurant? Like, what's the different tasks?
I think like one thing that a lot of people, think about, like, when they think about private chef is like, oh, it's like it's easy. And it's not easy at all, because you're basically all of a sudden you're doing everything.
Yeah.
You're managing your whole day. You're managing I mean, I the first time I took a private chef job, I mean, I was trying to find a private, because I kind of thought, oh, it's like, I had a couple of friends that were doing it, and they made a lot of money, and it was like, oh man, they're like, they cook for like a family, and they make like all this money, and they're just like, they're done in the, they start at 8 a.m. and they're done by 3, and they just pack the stuff up and they get out of there. I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want my days to be like shorter, and they don't babysit all these like, line cooks, and the dishwasher didn't show up. It was like, it was something that I just kind of was like, I just got to get into that, and it took me a while, and then I finally started doing it. And then I was like, oh, I'm running around, I'm shopping. I go and get the food that the family said they want. Then they don't want mushrooms tonight. They want to get, they want lasagna. And it's like, it's like all this like crazy, like, it's like, and then, it's kind of a weird thing. Like you want to go from like working with like a giant team and having a whole bunch of people on your side to like doing it all yourself. And then you're like, like you knock over a jar off the counter, and now you're cleaning up everything. It takes you, it's just like, there's like, you got to do every single thing, not that I'm not too good to like clean up a jar that I knocked over and broke, but at least like if there's like a lot going on, there's people to help, it's like, these big, hey, can you help me peel these carrots while I clean up my mess? Or like, like, but, and also, then you sometimes like, I was kind of lucky, the few clients that I've had that I didn't get treated like this, but I definitely know like a lot of people who, like, I mean, a friend of mine took a job working for like a really famous actor, and like the first day they were like, hey, go walk the dogs, and he was like, huh? I'm the chef. And he was like, go walk the dogs, and he like literally picked up his, I mean, this guy was a little bit of a tricky human being, but he like basically packed up and left. And I was like, he's like, yeah, it didn't work out. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, he asked me to walk his dogs. I'm like, were they nice dogs? I was like, I was like, could have been the worst thing in the world. It's like, no, I'm the chef. I'm not a dog walker. And I was like, I get your point. But you become kind of like,
is the hour rate
like
the
a
same?
Servant, like you become like a servant in a way. You're not really just like, and it's, and you got to just kind of be really on your toes, and like you got to be able to manage your money the right way, and like make sure you do the shopping the right way. You're not wasting, so it does get, you got to be kind of ready to kind of just do it all, and and be ready for, where, like, another thing, I had a client that would literally like every Thursday, it seemed, he'd be like, hey, I know you're Monday through Friday, but I got a bunch of friends coming over on Saturday. Can you come and cook on Saturday for 10 people? And I was like, okay. And, and it's like, it's like, it's a part of the job description when you took the job, but then, you kind of I would start making my plans for the weekend.
Yeah.
And it would be like, oh, sorry, can't go. He's, dude has some friends coming over, he's having a party, and I got to do that. And no, the party's at 7 p.m. So it's like, like, I got to get ready, so it's like things like that, so, but, I know a lot of people who love doing it, who are great at it, and, and and that's their thing. I like working with a team more. And I like having like people around me to bounce ideas off of, and just kind of work together, and just I like company, I guess, too. I like to be around other people. So I mean, it's a different thing. It's a lot of work. It's definitely, I remember being able to, I was getting off early, but I definitely remember like doing it in New York City and running around New York City like all morning, going to this farmer's market, then going to Whole Foods, and then going to this place, and then going to that, and just like, it's like, the budget's this much money that I got to keep it under, so I make sure like, my salary makes sense, because I would never hand in receipts. I'd add it to my thing. So I added it to my end salary. So my end pay. So like whatever I would get paid, it was like I had to keep my food costs down. And, like, again, like I said, like, it was like, oh, I don't want that anymore. I want to change it. You're like, oh, well, what do I do with, the 5 pounds of, porcini mushrooms that we thought we wrote the menu for, that, cost me, $200, like, or whatever, because I bought them retail at, the fancy, Italian supermarket. So, but, things happen, but it's good. I mean, I like the experience that I got to do it. And I like to have, it was nice to still have the experience to be able to, because, if I didn't come here, I was probably going to take another private chef job with a, someone in, the Los Angeles area. That was kind of where I was leaning.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad I have a team now.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, I think, but it also depends if you if you like thrive in a team, right? Like, because being a team player is a big thing. Like, it's hard sometimes.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you deal with that stuff? Like, do you are you good at being like the head chef, of course, but are you the angry guy, or how do you deal with it?
I think I had my moments of being the angry guy in the past, but it's kind of gets boring. It's like, it's like, and I don't think I was really the angry guy. I just think I was like always just like kind of disappointed, like, oh,
okay,
why can't everyone do everything like I do it? Why can't, why do I have to explain everything? Why do I keep on having to repeat myself? It was like kind of things like that, like, and then it just kind of gets boring being disappointed. And you kind of like look at the people around, like, that they have, everyone has their strengths, and you kind of like find their strengths there. It's like, I had the thing coming here is like, we had a couple people that were hired before I came up here, because I came down here, so not up here. So I came to the resort, and they had a few people hired in the culinary team, cooks and stuff, and they're young and don't have lots of experience. And some are like, one of them's like right out of culinary school. Great, everyone's amazing. I love everyone, but like, like I would get like the thing like, oh, when you're not there, the food's different. I'm like, I have 20 something years of experience cooking, and this guy like just started cooking a couple years ago. There's no way I can hand this person a recipe and show them a few times and be like, and you're gonna get it what I do, like, like I, so just trying to like also like, build that and train the people around me that I have to like answer to. It's like, you're not going to get, like, it's my recipes and my food and my direction, but it's like, especially with having a small team and, having like, low occupancy, we don't have like a giant structure to be like, so I can't be everywhere every time. I can't see every salad being made, and I can't, like I go and do the tastings, and I try everything every day, and I see everything every day, and I did something that I've never done before, even with like working with Matthew. We had like multiple restaurants, but I made a photo guide. I've never had it. I never took pictures of things and said, this is how it goes, and this is like, it was always like, and that was something that I kept on finding myself saying. It's like, I've never really had to, usually I would go, like, for example, I'd go to New York, and we'd open, a restaurant in New York, and I'd come with the recipes, and I'd hire a chef, and we'd train the team for a couple of weeks, and we'd open and be like, this is how it goes. This is what it looks like. This is the ingredients. This is where we get it from. And it's like, oh, you got it. Okay. And then, it's like, boom, I'll see in a couple months to come back and check. And, and usually there wasn't that many like that many, issues. Like, and it was just really interesting kind of coming here that like, we had a lot of like, I don't know, I don't really know what the I just kept on finding myself, and I still do have finding myself, like, it's funny because like social media is like an interesting thing. My sous chef was like, hey, did you see this photo? And it's like a photo of like, an avocado toast, and it's like just like plated crazy and like, just things missing, and just like, and it's like, well, these guys said they wanted photos, like, so I have to like go and be like, hey, what's going on here? Like, you guys made me do this photo thing, and like they're all on the wall in the back here, and everyone can see it. And I know we've done this over and over again. I know I've seen you do it. Right? What happened here? And it's like, sorry, chef. I just kind of, I thought I could, it's like, well, you're not getting. Please. I was like, yeah. So it's like now, it's like, and maybe like when my first chef job, I would have, handled it a little bit different and barked a little bit. But now I'm just like, come on, just stop. Like, and it's like, now it's just like, I was like, if you do it again, I'm just going to write you up. And if you keep on getting written up, you just got to go find another job. It's like not even it's not an anger. It's just like, come on, you're not following the guidelines, and we're trying to do something, it's not your. And if you wanted to be an artist, if you wanted to go do art somewhere, go buy some paint and go home and just, it's like if you need your outlet, just go do something else or do it at home. Like if you want to have fun, it's like, and not do what we do, because it's like, at the end of the day, like it's going to come back to me, and they're gonna be like, why is this different? Why is this wrong? Why does this look like this all of a sudden? And it's just like, and, I find myself saying that, it's like, you're just kind of like saying that I can't do my job when you do stuff like that, because you're not listening to me. Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like you're respecting the whole system, and it's not even just me. It's just like the whole system that we put in place. And, and if you can't do that, you're just not going to be successful at being a cook. And then you're never going to get to the level of being a chef, because like, you're just going to be like, oh, you're just going to be this inconsistent, mess all the time. Yeah. And that's like, so but getting back, I think it's just like, just being like, I definitely was like, oh, it's like, oh, disappointed. Oh, I'm disappointed. And just like, it's just so boring. It's so tiring, so exhausting. And now I just kind of like, just excited to have the experience, and excited to have like the opportunity to like, be able to like feed people like good food and, great ingredients, and just like, and start there and just kind of know that we're there, and also use that as a reason to why we're doing it this way, because there is a balance, and there is like a reason, and there is it's like, we don't fill the whole thing up with sauce because we want just enough sauce, and if they want more sauce, they can ask for sauce, or it's like, we don't put so things like that,
It's good to hear that that it's the same things we're dealing with.
yeah, I'm sure. And that's another thing too. I mean, I've worked, in a lot of restaurants. I've ran a lot of restaurants, and it really is the same thing everywhere. Yeah. Like, you could be in the nicest restaurant in the world, or you can be in a tiny cafe, and you're still going to have the same, team members like doing the same goofy stuff. And it's like, no matter if they're like the most talented cooks in the world, or just new at it, it's like, it's just a really thing. And I think that one thing that chefs just have to, I probably said it earlier, you just have to just get used to repeating yourself all the time, and not letting it get to you, not being like, you're not like, I can remember like my parents like, how many times I have to tell you, take the garbage out or whatever. And it's like, it's the same thing, like, just like, how many times? Yeah, probably a million, because, like, it's not as important to everybody. Like, and trying to drill that into what is important is like, it's just repetition,
Yeah. Is there some, when you are a leader of a big team, like, is there some things you do when you create the teams, like stuff you keep an eye on when hiring new people? Or
I mean, I literally like, just in the conversation, I just wanted to kind of have, like, just that people are nice. Like, that's really the first thing, like, I don't like, and then, I've had actually a new question I've been asking people, like, who their favorite famous chef is. And, you know, once they start saying like, oh, you know, Gordon Ramsay, and I'm just like, okay, moving on. You know, it's like, you know, it's like,
yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, yeah. So you just like, why? And then, why do you like Gordon Ramsay? You know, like, and some, you know, some like, oh, well, I really like his, you know, his passion into like seasonal cooking and da da da. And, you know, I know he's like seems angry, but, you know, it's like he's really passionate, and it's like, okay, you know, but like, you know, but it's like, it's just like, you know, just finding people that are just like, just genuine and trust. And, you know, like if I don't trust you in the interview and I feel like you're just kind of selling me yourself, like it's like something I don't really kind of move on with. But if it's like, you know, I feel like, you know, if it's real genuine interest in cooking and providing a good experience for somebody through food, then I'm willing to, like, you know, kind of, you know. But if you're like, oh yeah, I can do anything, I've done this, and, you know, my old chef worked for this guy, and we did this, you know, we did 2000, you know, it's like I just get like so bored of it. It's like, you know, you're just, or like I was the, you know, the head sous chef, and, you know, the chef quit, and then I was the sous chef, and blah, you know, like you get all these stories. It's like, you know, it's like, you know, it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, just like I hired a, you know, a chef, you know, a couple of years ago, and I remember like him like just kind of telling me that, like, you know, oh yeah, you know, I was the chef, you know, I was the chef, and then I found out like he wasn't the chef, he was only the chef because the chef quit, and there was no one else to be there, and like, you know, and like, you know, it's like, how are you this? Because I was like, how are you doing? Like, you told me you were the chef, like, and you're just like not very experienced, and made a lot of really just kind of poor judgment calls. And I was like, oh, it's like, yeah, you're not really the chef if like your chef just walks out one day because the place is a mess, and, you know, he couldn't handle it, and like all of a sudden you were the chef, like, you know, you were the one putting, I mean, technically, yes, I guess you're like, you accepted some new responsibilities, but like,
that's true.
You didn't really get trained, you know. You didn't really, you know, you got thrown into the fire, you know. It's like, and, you know, sometimes that works, but sometimes it's also like, if you don't have experience, it's like, it's really hard if you have no one to lean on or call and say, hey, you know, where do I get this, or how do you do this, you know, how do I start the fryer or whatever, you know, like, how do I turn on, where do I buy new plates, you know. It's like, you're just, you know, it's, I mean, some people will probably be good at it, some people, this person was not good at that for sure. You know, he wasn't even good at being managed.
They get angry. Like, that's what
like when exactly.
When these people, and they get angry with you because you're pointing out some stuff they need to get better at.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like to do, you know, just I always like to, you know, I always like to come in and say hi, make sure everyone sees that I'm around. You know, let them know I'm around for anything. Like, you know, you need me for anything? Okay, I'm gonna go move on and see what's going on here, you know, and then on my way out, I make sure everyone sees me, and on my way out, I'm like, do you need anything before I go? You got everything? Okay, we're all set. Cool. All right. See you tomorrow. See you in a couple of days. You know, my day is off. You know, a couple of days. But that's something that I always want to make sure that that they know that I'm available for communication, and, like, you know, I'm around. And I might not know everything. I might know, you know, I'm in a new place still too. So this is like, you know, one of those challenges, but at least I'm, like, you know, putting myself there for them to know that, like, and I was like, you know, I had a couple of days off, you know, I'm on my couple of days off this week, and I'm like, you know, I'm, you know, call me if you need anything, text me if you need anything, you know. That's like, you know, I was like, don't think, like, you know, it's like, if I don't answer the phone, I'm busy. If I don't text you back right away, I'm doing something. I'm on a run, or I'm in the hot tub, you know, or something, like, you know, or I'm out shopping for food, or, like, you know, doing something else. But like, I like to pride myself on being, you know, easy to communicate with and responsive. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably gonna jump a bit now.
Okay.
Because I'm a bit interested in all that, the musician part of this, and then suddenly a plant-based chef, and how did this start out?
Well, it's I mean, it's kind of connected in a very, you know, pretty simple way. I mean, I when I was in high school, I don't know if this is the exact reason, but, you know, when I was like 15 years old, and my dad worked for the airlines. He worked for Pan American Airlines, and they were always going on strike, and just things were just never, never happening really great for us there. Like, and we were kind of always like I feel we were kind of struggling. And then all of a sudden Pan Am kind of like went bankrupt, and my dad was like unemployed, and he started like painting houses for, to get by. And, before he found another job working for the transit authority. But, during that time, it just felt like we were just eating chicken all the time. And I hated it. I just didn't like chicken. And I was in school one day, we were in class, and the girl that was like sitting behind me was talking to her friend, wasn't even talking to me. And, and she said, "Oh, I don't eat chicken, I'm a vegetarian." And I literally just turned around and I was like, "Excuse me, what did you say?" It's like, "I don't eat chicken, I'm a vegetarian." And I was like, "Oh, wow." It's like, that's an easy way out. That's my way out of eating chicken. I'm going to be a vegetarian. And then at that point, I was like, only things that mattered to me was like skateboarding and like punk rock, like hardcore, like, and music. And so on Sundays and Saturdays, I was like I had a couple older friends that was great. And I don't know why they wanted to hang out with me, because I was just like kind of a young, nerdy skater kid, but maybe I was a little bit better at skating than, most of my other younger friends. So my one friend, Kevin, who had a driver's license and was also like kind of got me into like punk, and, he was always the cool kid. He had, the cool spiky hair, and, he was always just someone I kind of looked up to. And, he was like, "Oh, one day I also listened to some tape in the cafeteria, and he's like, 'Oh, if you like this, you check out this.' And he gave me a tape that had the Bad Brains on one side and the Cro-Mags on the other side."
Nice.
And I heard I listened to the Bad Brains first, and I was like, "Whoa, like this is just crazy." And then all of a sudden, they had like a reggae song. So I was like, "What is this? This is just so crazy. Like this is just blowing my mind." And then the Cro-Mags was on a whole other level of, mind blowing. And then I was like, "You got to give me more music like this." I saw him like the next day, and he's like, "Oh, if you like this stuff, we should go to CBGB's on Sunday. These bands play at CBGB's all the time." And I was like, "I'm 15. It's like they're all ages shows, but then they started doing 16 and over." And I used another friend's 16-year-old. I mean, I was going to be 16 in February, but like I used my friend's birth certificate to get in for like the first 10 times going to CBGB's. Like I bring have my friends 16, they go, "What's your mother's maiden name?" McShay. Okay, all right, there you go. It's like kind of, but and then one of those times we were out at CBGB's, there was a couple guys from some bands, talking outside, and we were waiting online to come in, and then they were talking about being a vegetarian, and being a kid, and just kind of like just being around. And that's why I also automatically love that scene, because like like you're here and the band's there. They're not like on this giant stage with crazy spike hairspray hair and tights and all. It wasn't like the like that was like the 1987 1988. Like there was a big like the Poison and Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue were all like the popular bands, and I hated that stuff. I didn't like that. It was like it seemed so far away, and but it's like you can just kind of go and talk to them. And I was like, I was 5 feet away, and I heard him say, "Oh yeah, something about being vegetarian." I was like, "Did you say you're a vegetarian?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm vegetarian." He's like, "Awesome!" And we like high fived, and my friends were like, "That was crazy! Like like you were talking to the dudes in the band." And I was like, "He said he was vegetarian. That's so cool." And he's like, then they were kind of interested in like, what? And then all of a sudden, like probably 6 months later, we went to see a show it was in Connecticut, but it was only like a little bit over an hour drive from where I grew up on Long Island. And my friend, we would go to this place. It was called the Anthrax, and it was like an all ages club, and it was in a like a warehouse parking lot, and we'd get there and kids would be skateboarding outside, and we'd like go skate, and then we'd go into the show. And this one day there was a band we went to see a show, and this band called Youth of Today ended up kind of showing up and doing a surprise. Like they didn't tell anybody, and they were like, "Oh, we're doing a video for our song called No More, and their song No More was like a vegetarian, like a song about being vegetarian. And you know, and then my friends were just like, oh, what, how did you like, you know, how did you do that? How did you know? Like, how did you know that? I was like, listen, I just, like, I'm like I didn't even remember saying it at that time, but it was like, I was just like, it just kind of happened. I just kind of thought it was like, you know, I didn't like eating it, and you know, and I stopped eating it. It was just kind of a natural thing for me.
But also getting all those positive responses like that, also builds it up, right?
Yeah, and then it was like, oh, like this band that I thought was amazing and super rad were like, you know, were also like kind of live the same life as me, and you know, I was like, so that was cool. And then like all my friends and like a lot of people in that scene like just started, you know, becoming vegetarian and like you know, like, and it was like a kind of a big part of, you know, of the hardcore, you know, world, and you know, and so moving on, like graduating high school and like, you know, attempting to go to college, and you know, like, you know, I played, you know, I started playing bass guitar, and also because I was like I said, going to shows, like, you know, you'd be that close to the bands. And you know, one day I was at we went to CBGB's, and there was a band playing, and I don't really remember what band it was, but they had a different bass player. And I was like, oh, and then they said they were going on tour, and I was like, I was like, wow. And then I was like, I want to buy a bass. I want to play bass. And it wasn't because I wanted to join this band or like, but I just kind of thought like, you know, I knew that this person wasn't very much older than me, or probably even the same age. And they were going to go in a van with their friends and travel around and play their music and spread whatever message they kind of thought was cool right now. And I just kind of thought that just sounded awesome. And like my dad, like I said, he worked for Pan Am, so we traveled a lot as a kid. So like I always loved to travel, and I wanted to see as much of, you know, as much of the world as I could see. So, you know, that would just seem like a really great way to do it, you know, to you know, to just travel with your friends and like, you know, spend time with your friends and meet new people and, you know, jump around and, you know, just be crazy and, you know, do whatever comes, you know, naturally next. And so, you know, I bought a bass, and, you know, instantly I didn't even know how to play. I was like trying to find people like, let's play music, let's do that. And, you know, and I was lucky, you know, my best friend, Chris, you know, he was one of my skater friends. He was a year younger than me actually, but he played guitar, and I was like, let's play and let's make a band. And, you know, and, you know, and he was like incredible musician. He still is an incredible musician. He's, you know, he's a professional, you know, guitar player. Like his, you know, he plays guitar in the band Bush. He's like, you know, but he, you know, but like we started playing, and like he basically, you know, I mean, he probably knows it for sure. He taught me how to play because basically like, show me how to play this song. How do you do that? Show me how to do this. And, you know, so like I like learned how to.
You didn't open YouTube back then, eh?
No, there was no YouTube at all. No. Yeah, there was all these like weird books that like, you know, and if you didn't understand how to like, you know, what it was, like, you know, and I took like a couple lessons, but it was like, it didn't really, you know, I didn't really care about the basics. I just wanted to learn how to play songs so I can go on tour, you know, and like, you know, I wasn't really looking for, you know, music theory, like, you know, and the music that I was, you know, wanting to play didn't really seem like music theory mattered much. And, you know, I probably would be a lot better of a musician if I did take it serious, but I'm not sure if that was like my, you know, the gift I was like searching for, you know, like that I had, you know. I think it was just like, you know, I learned enough what I needed to learn to get where I needed to go. So long story short, me and Chris ended up graduating high school, and we kind of always were playing music together, and we started another band, and we made a record, and after that band, like, we didn't do a lot, but we did, you know, a lot for some, you know, 19 and 20-year-old kids. Like we played, you know, we, you know, went to Boston, and we played in Ohio. Like we did like a small, like, you know, as far as we can drive, and like our parents, you know, cars that we can borrow, like with our friends. And then that band like our singer was a bit of a wild card, and he kind of ended up like just disappearing, one day. And, so we kind of broke up, and then Chris started another band, and me and the other guitar player, we started another band. That band ended up being Texas Is the Reason, which like I got to basically do everything I could ever possibly want to do, with music and traveling and being in a band. And during that whole time, even Chris had a girlfriend who went to college at NYU. So he started working at a restaurant called Angelica Kitchen. It was a vegan restaurant.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can get you a job here. Come and work here. So I started working there, and like that was basically my introduction just to like everything amazing about food and what food can do and how food can give you a great experience and how food can make you feel good and how food can like just, not be basic or, and it was like thinking about it and like knowing about it now, it was pretty basic what it was, but like there was nothing organic or seasonal or, all those like taglines were like, farm to table, like that wasn't there, but that's what they were doing at Angelica Kitchen. And it was just insane and incredible. Like I saw so many ingredients I've never heard before. I met so many people that, I was like right in the East Village, we'd have all, the Beastie Boys would eat there and Sonic Youth would eat there. And, all these, like my first day, the guys, someone who was training me was like, oh yeah, yesterday, Fugazi was here. And I was like, what? I was like, if they ever come in here, I'm going to buy them lunch, and he's like, oh yeah. He's like, everybody comes in here. But we have, so many people, like actors and actresses and just even really artists, like just rad people from the neighborhood, that like I still know and I'm still friends with. And I did actually end up getting to buy lunch for some of the members of Fugazi, like after that. But yeah, it was just a really great place for the community, and just like, and just kind of like, just taught me so much. And I was there for, I worked there for about 8 years to start, and I actually had an 8-year break, and I was eating their dinner there one day, and the general manager was like, hey, Scott came over and was like, oh, do you know anybody? We're looking for someone to work part-time. And that's when I was doing private chef stuff. Like I said earlier, I love being around a team. I was so bored. And I was like, can I do it? And he was like, you really want to do it? And I was like, what days are it? And he was like, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And I was like, okay. Like it was like no weekend days. Like, it was like easy. 3 days a week. The money was, it didn't really matter with the money because I had 2 private chef clients that I was cooking lunch for during so I was like done with work, and it was just like, and it was like I was done at 10:30 at night, so it was like great. And then it was even awesome because I could even buy my produce from them. So it was a win-win all over the place. So so I went back and did that for about 2 years. And then I got like one of my clients, I had one of those 2 clients was like, we want to hire you full time. Can you do that? And it was just like, it just made sense to do that. And I did that for a while. And then I went back to, and then, while I was doing that, Matthew Kenney reached out to me about coming to work for him. But like, again, like that, but working at Angelica also gave me the opportunity while I was in Texas Is the Reason band. I worked, I always had, like, it was always an open schedule for me. So I basically picked my days whenever. I had the general manager there and the chef there both came to New York to be musicians, and they were very supportive of me being a musician because that's what they wanted to do. And even there was even a point where the chef there was a pastry chef position open, or a pastry assistant position open, and I asked to do it, and the chef, I got so mad. And I think that it's one of the things that kind of like drove me to actually be a chef, because he said, just stick to playing bass. That's what you want to do. And I was like, no, I want to be a fucking chef. I don't want like that. This is just what I'm doing now. I was like, I want to cook. I love this, like feeding people to me even then was like, it meant something so much more than just being like, oh, your songs are so good, or I really like your album. But like when you're giving people like nourishment, it really just, it made me feel a lot better than just like, you know, like I love the traveling, I love being with my friends, I love being able to like see what I saw and do what I do, but like I really loved, you know, creating experiences through food, like, you know, right from the start.
Yeah. So did you go into Angelica without any chef training? It was just from
I was a busboy
yeah,
at a dishwasher, like, you know, at 2 restaurants growing up in Long Island, you know, like, and you know, that, and I only did that because I needed money to buy skateboards, and my you know, my dad was kind of unemployed, you know, so like I needed to get a job, you know, so yeah, it wasn't like, you know, it was, you know, I did a little bit of prep, and like actually one of the restaurants, I did 2 days of training to be a pizza assistant because it was a big Italian restaurant, and then just being a kid and stupid, like, you know, this certain like waiter guy yelled at me one day, and I was like, I'm not working here anymore, you know, I just ended up quitting and got a job somewhere else. But like, you know, I was on my way to like learning how to do some actual cooking, but yeah, it didn't work out because it's just that place was so busy. It was like 200 something seats. It was giant, you know, we were so busy. And you know, I was like a 15-year-old kid. I told them I was 16. I was 15 when I was working there. You know, because you couldn't work until you were 16 to have like a, you know, but yeah, so I was like, and then I ended up working at another small little, you know, restaurant closer to where my parents' house was, just as a busboy. But yeah, no experience at all. And even at Angelica, I didn't go in as a cook. I started working there as a delivery, riding a bike.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So I did that, and then I worked in the takeout, and then I moved into the kitchen, and I answered the phone for orders and made the takeout food, packaged up the takeout food, and then from there I became an expediter, and there's a lot of, I mean, it was like not very it was a different how I say, like, setup, you know, different, like it wasn't like line cooks and, you know, sous chefs, and, you know, it was, you know, so, you know, I would take the orders and make, you know, and organize how the food got served to the tables, and did some prep, and I did some, you know, and then, you know, at the end, like I said, like actually I even worked, I got like kind of bored of not bored, I just wanted to see what it was like to be, actually I think it was probably because I wanted to make more money, actually. So I ended up working as a front of house. I worked as a waiter for a while too.
Yeah.
And then I became a manager. And then I the owner wanted me to be the assistant general manager, and that was when Texas Reason broke up. I still worked there the whole time, even though when Texas Reason could have paid my bills and stuff, I still worked there, you know, through the whole time. Whenever I was home, I worked there, and then we broke up, and I came back to work. I went back into work after a tour, when the tour that we broke up, and the general manager was like, "Oh, you're coming to tell me that you just signed your big record deal and you don't want to work here anymore?" I was like, "No, I'm coming to tell you that we broke up and I need some shifts." And he's like, "Oh shit, okay." But then, you know, I'm not sure the timing, maybe 2 years later, like I got asked to be in another band, and I joined another band and ended up quitting and moving to California for a couple of years to be in another band. And during that time, I really kind of knew that it's like I didn't want to do music full time. I wanted to be in the kitchen or open a restaurant or be in that setting. I wasn't really happy touring, and even though that was like some good friends, it was just didn't really feel the same way as like Texas is the Reason felt great because it was like best friends. We had all the same goals and dreams and everything. Like, you know, we kind of finished each other's sentences kind of thing in that band. And then this band was kind of like put together, and it just didn't really, so then I moved back to New York and then said, I'm going to be a chef. And then it's been kind of like, you know, I played a little music in between, but like, it's never been like full time or like main inspiration.
Okay. Did you ever consider like going to chef school?
I always wanted to. Yes, I had plans to go to a culinary school called the Natural Gourmet.
Yeah.
It was a plant, vegetarian, like heavy vegetarian. It wasn't completely vegetarian cooking school in New York, and that's where I wanted to go. But I just honestly didn't have the money to do it.
No.
Yeah, I didn't have the money to do it, so I just could never there was. And then even when there was a point where I got a little bit more experience actually I was after I worked at the first restaurant, I met Matthew Kenney at Pure Food and Wine. After I left there, I said, I want to go to school. And the head of admissions there was like, you can teach here. Why would you want to come to school here? It was just kind of like, oh, but like, I wanted to go to school there because like when I was talking about all my friends that were private chefs, a lot of them went there and they had all those connections. And I was like, I want those connections. And she was like, I'll give you the connect. If anyone comes through and if I feel it's a good, I'll reach out to you. You've had so many of our interns and, you've done so much for the school. Like you're like an honorary graduate.
Yeah.
But it was always my plan. I always wanted to, but I just never it just wasn't in my, financial cards.
Okay. But that I think that's pretty cool because I think that's also what makes a good chef when you kind of know what happens in the front and as a manager and in the kitchen so because you took the steps up, you kind of know the full business and not just from the kitchen's point of view.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to see, you always in the kitchen, you're like, oh, the servers, the waiters, they all suck. And it's like, I want to see why they all suck. Maybe I can help. Maybe I can help them not suck anymore. And, and it's just like the same, it's like, and that's been a big thing for me in restaurants is like the first thing I say as soon as like I have a cook, be like, oh, the server, they go, and it's like, no, we're on the same team. We're all doing the same thing. We're working for the same reasons, and like, don't be, whatever, like, it's like, it's not, we're all here for the same thing. We're all working for the same people, and so it's like something that I've been, it's been a big goal for me to end that, front of house, back of house, waiters versus, kitchen, kind of dynamic that, for some reason that someone let that start way back in the day.
That's true.
Yeah.
How did with this timeline, how did Noma fit in?
So I was at the point where I was doing a lot, like I was private cooking and doing consulting and I was doing these pop-ups, and this is kind of before they even were called pop-ups. We were just calling it a dinner party or a supper club. And me and my friend Elena, who was an amazing pastry chef, she lived in this loft in Brooklyn, and we would come up with menus, like every couple months, and we would open it up, and like we had a Facebook group, and we said, hey, we're going to do this. It's only available to 30 people because that's how many people we can fit into the loft. And they would just sell out all the time. And Elena ended up, I consulted for this restaurant. And then I ended up hiring Elena to be the chef there. So she took the job as a chef there, and we did a couple. Actually, I'm not sure. Let me try to think of it. No, so she was the chef there. I was done with my consulting there. I went on to do something else, and I'm not even sure. I went to do some more consulting and private cooking stuff. And during that time, the owner of that restaurant was like, she came to a couple of our dinner parties at her loft, and she was just like, I don't love my restaurant, and I love what you guys do. She's like, what? I want to sell the restaurant, and I'll be your investor. We can open something new with you guys, and let me step out of being the owner, and you guys can be the owners, and you can basically like, let's build something new. So with that in mind, we started like, still doing our we called it nasturtium. It was our pop-up thing, and we did a couple at this restaurant as well, and they were like super well attended, and we went from doing 30 people to like 150 people, and just like great busy nights, and just like really awesome. It was really exciting, and the restaurant went from like being like steady to like, wow, we're busy. So it was really like exciting, and like we definitely felt we had something really great. So in that time, before, I was like, I just need to do something awesome. I need to work at a really amazing restaurant. I need to do something cool. And I was basically obsessed with what Noma was doing, because they kind of like on paper and through like, even like the little bit of the internet that was going on, and the cookbook just came out. It kind of made me have this feeling of what Angelica was about, with like just kind of being ahead of their time with like foraging and special ingredients. And then I also loved that they were very like proud to not be serving like giant hunks of meat, and like they just it was like it was all vegetables, and and I just kind of like Renee just seemed to be like just like prophet of of a really cool experience, and it just seemed like something that I just needed to see firsthand. And I had a few friends in the chef world that have been staging there and have been interning there. And at one point, my friend Eric Anderson, who's an amazing, talented chef, he was there. And like every morning I would like kind of open up my Facebook, and he'd be like, oh dude, it was amazing yesterday. We went foraging for ramps, and we did this. And like, he's like, you gotta come here and you gotta stage here. You'll love it. And then like, he worked at, he went to CIA culinary school. He worked at, the French Laundry and Alinea. Like, I'm not even sure what his whole like, resume is, but he worked at a lot of nice restaurants. It's like, and I was like, the chef at a weird vegan raw food place. And, and I've been kind of like doing like, he just said, he's like, send your resume. I forget how he said it, but it was typed out, it was like, but it was like, just send your resume. He's like, what's the worst thing gonna happen? They won't respond. And he's like, and he's like, I'm sure you've been told no before also. And I was just like, all right. And I didn't, I wasn't like telling everybody I want to go start. I mean, like, I gotta go do this. Like, I was just like, it was just something that was like in my head, like, just kind of him kind of like, kind of getting me really, excited about what they did there and how they did it. And I basically wrote a resume, I put it together, and I sent it off one Friday morning, and then didn't say anything, didn't tell anybody about it. I just, sent it off. And then Monday morning I was checking my email, and it from Matt Orlando, who's the head chef out of Mass now, like he was the head chef at Noma then. It was an email from him saying, hey, Scott, like, got your resume. We have opening from October through the end of the year. We'd like you to stay at least a month. If he's like, we'd love for you to come here and, and intern and stage. And it's like really quick, couple sentence email. If we'd like to stay for at least 30 days. And I just wrote back instantly without even thinking twice. I said, thank you so much. I'll do it the whole time. Let me know what else I need to do. He responded like kind of a couple minutes later and said, he's like, just reach out to me 2 weeks beforehand, and I'll make sure that you're on the schedule.
Yeah.
So I ended up, shutting the computer down and going, oh shit, how do I do this now? Like, how do I, how am I going to where am I going to stay? Where am I going to do this? And through music, I talked to at that point I was living as a neighbor to the guitar player, like me actually, whole other story, but me and Norman, who played guitar in Texas Reason, we were roommates for a bunch of years. And then I met my wife, who's now, but she was my neighbor. She lived 2 doors down from where we were living. And I was living with her at the time. And I remember like, going over to, to the old apartment and talking to Norman and saying, I got, I sent my resume to Noma, and like, and they accepted me, and I'm going to go intern. He's like, he's like, what are you gonna, how are you gonna do that? And what are you gonna do? And I was like, I don't know. I got to figure out where I'm gonna stay. I was like, maybe there's a hostel. And he's like, you remember Heine? And I was like, of course. He's like, and I was like, you just stayed with him, a couple months ago. You and his boyfriend, you and your boyfriend Sean just stayed, like. And he's like, yeah, you just call him. He'll help you out. He'll find a place for you. And I was like, and Heine booked Texas is the Reasons for a show. It wasn't in Copenhagen, but it was like, I don't remember the exact city, but it was like in Denmark.
Okay.
He's a Danish guy, and haven't talked to him in probably a couple years, anything more than just like a hey, what's up on Facebook, because that was kind of even before like Instagram was fully going.
Yeah.
And he stayed on my couch for a month when I lived in the East Village when he was visiting New York. So I didn't have any expectations to any at all. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, dude, check it out. I got accepted to do an internship at Noma. I'm looking for a place to stay. I was like, do you know anybody that's like renting a room, or where's a good place, or even just some advice on the neighborhoods? And he wrote back and he's like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's so cool. He's like, you're staying with us.
Oh, nice.
You're staying with me. Don't worry about it. I have a room for you. So him and his wife now, Lucy, they didn't like they had an older bed. So they bought a new bed. They put their bed in the living room, which actually had like closing doors. So it was like another room. And they basically set up a bedroom for me.
Oh, nice.
For the 3 months that I was there, and put me up. And I felt horrible because I was leaving at like 6 o'clock in the morning and not coming home until, really late. And then my first, my day off, I would sleep in till like 2 p.m., like my first day off. And then the next day I was out running around trying to just make sure I had laundry done and, some food in the refrigerator for when I got home, had some juice and, stuff like that. Yeah. So I wasn't like the most, amazing or fun, roommate to have. But it was great, and he was awesome, and I'm forever in debt to him for that, because it just worked out so perfectly. And
did they live downtown Copenhagen, or did you have
they lived like I'm forgetting the name of it now, but I spent so much time. There's those two big glass like market buildings. There's like the coffee collectives in there, and there's like
Torvhallerne.
Exactly. Yes, they live right next to there.
Okay. That's pretty center actually.
Yeah. So, and it was like it was not the shortest walk, but I walked from Noma back and forth every day, mostly, unless it was raining. I took the train, and the train was like literally like a 2-minute train ride. But I walked back and forth, and it was. But yeah, they were like right there in the middle of everything, and it was.
Where was Noma located back then? Because I think they have a new place now, right?
Yeah. They were on Strandgard 93. Yeah. So they were down there.
Yeah.
So that was like the first spot where they were. So yeah, it was, and it was just like, so that's basically, I just wanted to go and do something amazing and be somewhere amazing and see how an amazing restaurant worked. And and I had no expectations. I had no idea, but I got there and there were like 20 interns. Most of them all were like head chefs and like really, worked at like amazing, like French Laundry and El Bulli and 11 Madison Park, and just like what, like all you people are like, like from these great, you already have done great things. So it was like just around, even the interns that were there were like just like super inspiring to be around, and like I learned so much in those 3 months for sure, and just like, and still have some really great friends from there as well.
That's cool. Like actually, Neil, she has a question for you on this Noma thing.
Okay.
And that's what, like, she wanted you to talk about your greatest skill you got from Noma that you brought on. Like,
it just, I think just, with a lot of people when they first got there, they were kind of expecting all these like fireworks to be blowing up everywhere. Like, oh my God, that's how you do this and that's how you do that. But it was really just like, really seeing that just the best ingredients really shine, and like not having to try so hard to make things be so special. And you know, and you can ask my friend Jason, who's another really great chef. I remember talking to him and being like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. Like my first like 10 days there, I'm like, this is like, it's just, you know, it's crazy here. It's like, it's nothing special. It's just like another crazy restaurant. Everyone's running around trying to get things done and getting everything. But the day I was downstairs in the kitchen. So you kind of start doing like, you know, like you start with the prep, and then, but I was there for a few days, and one of the sous chefs, Trevor, he was like, Scott, come down here. We need your help. We need your help at lunch. And I was like, okay. You know, so I went down, they had me like plating something. And then the next day, pastry chef Rosio, she said, hey, and because I lived in Brooklyn, she called me Brooklyn because it's probably easier to remember where I was from than my name. She's like, Brooklyn, can you help me help run this food? And then we like ran some desserts, and walking out onto the floor and seeing everybody having the experience, it clicked for me. And it just was like, oh, and it just literally just like, I think that, like, you know, I don't think I was taught any like specific skill, like, oh, this is how you do this and this is how you need it. It was just really just like, just being able to have my eyes wide open and my ears wide open, and just being ready to say yes to any challenge given to me. You know, there was like a Swedish chef that came for an intern, and a guy from Switzerland who came, and they had a bad attitude about it the whole time.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
You know, they were too good for everything.
Oh, yeah.
And one left to go intern someone else, and one just quit and walked out. And like, you know, and it was just like, you know, and I was like happy to check in the, you know, the vegetable order in the morning. I was happy to like, you know, like I was like literally like, you know, I was just so like, you know, grateful that I was given the opportunity to be around all these talented people, and to see how, you know, how it worked, and, you know, just even to be able to like be able to grab Renee and be like, hey, I got a question for you, and like, you know, or like, or even just like, hey, walking, like, you know, the test kitchen at the time was like in between like the locker room and the prep kitchen. So like, even like walking to the locker room to go get something from your locker, and, you know, they'd be working on something, and they'd be like, hey, come up here and check it out. And like, it was just like so amazing just to be able to like, just to be in that presence of all these like really talented people. And of course I learned a lot of techniques and, you know, stuff, you know, there, and, you know, using vegetable sheeters and, you know, dehydrators for different reasons, and, you know, just, you know, vacuum sealer, and, you know, like just things like that. But it was really just basically I'm most grateful, and I think what I taken about just from being able to like meet the people I met and have the relationships that I met, and just be around the people that I just had so much talent and just and drive, and just seeing what it was really also great to see like, and be around, you know, people that just had the same drive as me, who were willing to like not just like shuffle through, like always ready to like just, you know, move fast and get things done, and just be like, you know, really excited to make it the best, you know, like, and like just knowing that you were at a place that was like the best. And that wasn't, you know, it didn't matter to me that they were the best. Why I was there, it wasn't going because, oh, they got number one on the list. It was because their core values were like something that I felt connected to. And you know, and then getting there and seeing that those core values were real, and you know, and even just like they took care of their team and they took care of their guests. So like, you know, such a, you know, of course there was a lot of intense moments there as well, but, you know, it wasn't like that, you know, that just shitty, like angry, like asshole, you know, energy. It was like, we're doing something. This is the best, you know, we're at this level, and we need to make sure that we're doing things, you know, with purpose and with, you know, good reason, and you know, and that just kind of, it just that taking that back and having that just like in me for like ever, like it was like what I think I took most out of coming from there and being there.
No, like I think they're amazing too. That's crazy. And I know that's also been like one of Neil's dreams is to get in there and see what it's like, especially before we got 2 kids.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, maybe in the future.
Makes it a little harder. Yeah.
It makes it a bit harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about like what you see in like, I think Noma shows it a lot, like with the future trends. But what do you see where you're at right now? What the future plant-based trends are like?
You know, I'm not really sure. I mean, like I think fermentation was a big thing like last year and the year before.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that, like, you know, especially with the fermentation book that came out.
Yeah.
A lot of people, you know, you saw a lot of people making their own tempeh, and a lot of fermented hot sauce companies popped up, and things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's weird too, because like I'm not saying that like coming to Arizona, like for me, it's kind of like it's not, Portland's like a huge food scene. Los Angeles is a huge food scene. New York City is a huge food scene. And Phoenix is like the 5th biggest city in the United States, but it's so vast. So I'm still kind of like learning what's going on here.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that this is like the ground zero for plant-based right now. So I'm kind of trying to catch up and see where we're at. But I think I think I'll say that, the whole food is medicine is going to be very important. I think that's probably the biggest new trend, which I'm seeing that like a lot of even traditional chefs are kind of taking on too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of chefs, especially that have experience, are kind of getting to that point where they're not feeling that great anymore, and it's like they're beating themselves up and not eating well, and they're finding like, and then I'll hear like, oh, did you hear that this guy, that chef's he eats gluten-free, he doesn't eat gluten. It's like, oh really? Okay. Oh, this guy, and even I was seeing even we'd have like every chef around town in Portland come and eat and be like, oh my God, that was like such an amazing experience. Like, I can't believe, we ate like 15 courses and we feel so good. Like, you never walk out of a tasting menu like that. Or I'd be like, in Venice at the restaurant and, Plant Food and Wine. And I'd be like, oh, hey, there's the chef from that restaurant. He's out there eating. Let me go say hi. Like, and it's like, you're eating here? He's like, and it's like, he's like, yeah, this is like my 10th time here. I'm like, what? Like, he's like, this stuff's so great. And it's like, oh, I was like, you eat vegan? Like, he's like, it's like, I'm trying new. And it's like, oh, so I think like a lot of people are realizing that it's not the end of the world if you don't have some protein on your plate anymore. And it actually makes you feel good. And so I think that I would say like the biggest trend is like, I
think that's a good one.
Yeah. And that's kind of what, that, it's been driving me, just cooking with purpose. It's not just like, we're trying to like, I had a chef, who would always say like, wasn't really, I take it a little bit further because he always would say I put too much on the plate, and he would say, we're trying to feed them, not fatten them.
Yeah.
And so I've moved that on to like, we're trying to feed you, not like make you feel sick, make you feel like, you ate too much. So we're just trying to like get you, your nourishment and feel good,
Yeah. Makes sense. Like I think there's a big, like, I just wish more chefs would think like that, because chefs, like, they kind of have the future in their hand a bit, because they're the ones who can show people like what the next trend is. And
for sure, yeah.
Because when people go out eating, they go out for experience and good food, but they also take that with them home. Like how like they say like, oh, this good chef makes food like this, like let's try to do that at home or something like that. So I think chefs have like a big responsibility in showing like what the future is of food and with the health. In Denmark, we just got new like health guidelines, which is actually almost plant-based, and that's crazy for a country who which one of the biggest exports is pork. So they're talking about like, oh, you guys need to eat more fiber, more legumes, less meat, less milk. They even wrote this stuff.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. So right now there's a big like we're thinking, because we're passionate about the food, and like the chefs are just so behind with the nutrition value in food.
Yeah.
So do you even think it's possible for like chef schools around the world to like have this knowledge, or and do you think it's in the short future or in the long future, or?
I think it's probably already there. I think like a lot of people, I mean, I know that, I know that some of the culinary schools, have incorporated this for sure. And I think like, even, most of the nice restaurants that do like high-end, menus all have a vegetables tasting. I mean, like, I mean, even Renee has been saying that he, I mean, who knows what his real motivation is behind it. Like, I'm not, saying I don't trust him, but he's said that Noma is going to be a plant-based restaurant in, X amount of years.
Yeah.
He's said that a bunch of times, and, they do vegetable season and, and I think that, so I think I think it is an important part of culinary now. It's not just, it's not the thing that we're like, it's like, oh, there's a vegan here, we can't feed them. It's like, it's a lot easier because it's like, most of the things are like, oh, well, it's just so much more knowledge about it.
Yeah.
And even like, I'll say when I went to do my internship at Noma, and once people kind of found out what I was doing back at home, they were really interested in hearing about like what I did and what my motivation was. And, and I know, and I never, I definitely think there's a political part about veganism, but I never, I wouldn't be at Noma if I was like a super political vegan, because like I wouldn't even step into space that, would had a full pig hanging in the walk-in, like that was just like, it wouldn't be something, so as long as I made it, I was open enough to communicate, my thoughts about, eating plants and creating experiences through, that way of doing it. I think it was like people were really interested. I remember like one of the sous chefs, one of the, the chef de parties was like, hey, I saw your thing on Instagram, on Facebook, tell me about it. Is that at a restaurant, or is that like, it's like, it's all vegan? Like, is that what you do? It's like, are you vegan? It's like, and it was like a really cool, respectful conversation, and it was like, and people are genuinely interested. And I think like it's just getting so much bigger, and there's like so many, it's not like a bad word anymore. It's like, it's really accepted.
Yeah. It's probably also, I think it's also because maybe the trend right now is the plant-based some way, where all our work the last 20 years has been like getting this to be a trend.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
sure.
But yeah, so I think you're doing a great job, man. Like I'm in love with the plating you do. Like
thank you.
It's amazing. Is that some of the artistic musician that brings the platings up in you, or where do you get this from?
Well, I think I saw a book by Charlie Trotter Vegetables, and
I'll look that up.
Yeah, he was like, one of the, America's greatest chefs. He passed away a couple years ago, but he has a bunch of books. He's like a seafood book, a meat book, a dessert book, but the vegetable book. And my roommate was a chef many years ago, and she had this book, and I saw it, and I was like, why can't every food look like this? Is beautiful. Like, and it kind of that just kind of inspired me just to see like, about like, it's not just scooping food on the plate, that you can make this like elevated, like artistic experience. And I think that when I saw that and then started to pay attention to more about food, and even like when I was at Angelica, I would like, like I would do stuff, and and the chef there would like laugh at me, like, "Oh, you're such an artist," like, or whatever. And I was like, so but I'm like not a painter. Like, I'm not like,
Okay.
I can't paint. If you gave me a paintbrush and a canvas, I wouldn't really know what to do. Like, I've tried, I'm like, I'm not good at this. I don't find myself as a good, art draw. I can't really draw really well, but I had my bout of graffiti as a kid, being into punk and hip hop as a kid, but wasn't very good at that either. So I just think this is like just kind of, it wasn't something I it's nothing I studied, and it's nothing that I said, oh, I need it. Like, I don't really even think too much about like the plating before it's even, I really honestly like sometimes I'll have an idea, sometimes I'll see something, sometimes like, we were out on a hike the other day and I saw these like rocks and this really cool, like they were just like layered really. I was like, that's awesome, and it's like, I don't even look at food to inspire me. I like look at like what other things, and it's just something that comes natural. It's like, I usually my first thing is like, I just want things to be cooked the right way and taste the way I want, and then 9 times out of 10 I'll have the food, and then I'll just put it on the plate, and then like the first way it goes on the plate is the way it gets plated. It's not like let's change this up, let's move this here, let's do that here. It's like, it's just like even even when we were doing the tasting menus up in Portland, I talked to my team like, oh, we'll get this, we'll cut them out with the ring mold and put it there, and they just just put it down in like, and then it's like, then they'd give me the ingredient, my cooks or my sous chefs would give me the ingredients and we played it. I'm like, how's that? And they're like, okay. And like, I'd like my sous chef up there would like, oh, that's why you're the chef, okay, that's amazing. Like, moving on, like, it's like, so, it's just like, but it just, it's not really, it's important to me, obviously, because it's something that I do, but it's not something that like, that I really like focus on. Like, it's not like I got to make the most beautiful plate, and I got to do this, like I got to have the sauce with this, and it's got to have a little sprinkle of that. It's just like, it's just what the ingredients go on the dish. I think about the ingredients. I write the menus first, before I
Okay.
It's like I pick the ingredients, and then I make the ingredients, and then they go on the plate. And it's not really something I overthink, and and the things will change and things will move on, but like it's weird, because I know there's definitely chefs that like have their notebooks and all their dishes are written out and drawn. And like I said, I can't draw. Like, if you saw me see me draw one of the dishes, you'd probably be like, what? Like, I don't want that looks dumb. Like, you don't want to do that. That's sloppy, or that's just not right. He's like, what is that? Is that supposed to be a piece of broccoli? Is that actually, that looks like a finger. That's not a carrot, Yeah. So it's like, it's something that it's important to me, but not like, it's not something I like overthink.
Yeah. It's a good way also to notice like the nature in food. Like, especially when we use like all these vegetables, like because it's so close to nature. So you can make some pretty cool stuff that like kind of looks like a forest, or something like that, like a flower bed or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool. What are you using of ingredients at the moment? Like, what are your food tasting like at the resort? I can't taste it. Like,
it's funny because, like I said, like I'm like really new to the area, and like and then coming from Portland, where I was getting all the ingredients from. They were all coming from like 100 miles around, like, so it was very, very local and very, 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 very seasonal. And like, we don't really, we're a desert, so things don't really even grow here in the summer. So it's not like, there are some local farms and they're really great farms, but I'm just kind of basically trying to get like just great ingredients and the freshest ingredients. So I'm not really like that concerned. Of course, if it's grown close by, I'm super excited, because that's instilled in me. But it's actually, I was really happy to come here and be like, oh, I can use avocado again. I can use like citrus is growing here all over. So like I'm like really loving, right now it's like, we just went to the farmer's market and I bought a bunch of tangelos and some white grapefruit and some Meyer lemons, and you know, so, and then there's a really great guy that has all these sprouts. I bought all these sunflower sprouts. So, you know, I just, you know, whatever, I just like to see what's there and what's inspiring me. And, you know, but I haven't really, it's a different, definitely a different scene. And I think it's going to take me a little bit more time to kind of really like kind of sink my, my fangs into like what exactly is what it means to be like local and seasonal here. And I've seen some chefs like claim they're doing some local and seasonal stuff, and then you know they're serving like they're making sushi with like, you know, with nori wraps, and I'm like, pretty sure that's from Japan. Like you're getting that seaweed from Japan. That's not really, you know,
not that local.
And I mean, also I'm coming from being so staunch at, you know, you know, at Farm Spirit, like, you know, it was like we didn't, you know, when there was one farm that had some Meyer lemon trees, some citrus trees, and some kumquats, and like literally when I bought like 300 pounds of lemons and preserved them all, so I would have, you know, that citrus punch. You know, like it wasn't like I can just go, oh, let's get a case of lemons. You know, we just didn't do that. You know, even when I first got up there, you know, I was like, oh, can we get some thyme from the farm? Like, no, thyme's growing now. Like, huh? Really? And then, you know, you know, but then for some reason, luckily enough, like over the next year that, you know, the winter happened, like I was pretty good with the herbs. Like they had a couple of the farms had, you know, herbs, but I also knew that like, all right, well, you know, the farmer would say, hey, probably won't have time next week. So I was like, give me 2 pounds. And like, you know, and I know it would last, you know, for, you know, the time for the time. But yeah, so just being like, just, you know, mindful and, you know, considerate of what, you know, and not just kind of just not being silly about what the, you know, just get whatever, you know, like, or, you know, let's like, you know, like the bartender wanted to get some watermelons. I'm like, watermelons aren't growing anywhere near here. I was like, that's not real. I was like, come on, let's think of something else, you know, let's figure, you know, like, so just like trying to think about like how to move with the seasons in a conscious way.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we kind of talked for a while here. That's pretty
right.
cool. Yeah, thanks. Like, how long time have you worked at that place?
I just got here in September, so
okay, so it's pretty new then. Okay.
Yeah, it's really new. Yeah. So it's really new. Yeah.
So I bet like my last question was actually like what your future plans were, and also with Matthew, are you doing more stuff, or how is that working out?
Matthew's just my friend now. Like we just like, you know, we communicate all the time, but like, yeah, we're not on a working level at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say no if he needed something done with a project if I had time. Like I had a really great time working with him. The only reason why I left was just because I was looking to do my own thing, and I had the opportunity to do, you know, something that like I was, you know, equally a partner in, you know, and like and got to like, you know, and also I was just really looking to do that kind of tasting menu service. And, you know, and with Matthew at that point, I was basically like coming back to Venice, working on a new project, setting up the new project, coming back. So, and I wasn't really getting that, like, it was amazing to be serving good food to so many people like around the world. But it was like kind of hard not to really be able to celebrate that with those people, you know, like it was like, you know, like go to Argentina and open this restaurant, you know, like get ready. Yeah. So like I'd go to Argentina, I meet a bunch of people and we do a cool menu and get the stuff ready, and it was a beautiful space. And then hopefully I get to come back here in a couple months and see, you know, and see it, you know, like,
okay, I get you. Yeah.
So it was like I was kind of losing that, like that spark of like, you know, so it was really kind of great to kind of get back to like, you know, even to go do Farm Spirit. It was an open kitchen. I was in the kitchen every day. We had a small team. I saw all the guests. You know, at one point I was like the guy opening the door for everybody in the beginning and welcoming them in, because it was such a small team, you know. So it was a good thing. And then this is like, you know, again, it's like we have a small team and it's a resort, and we're doing healthy food, so it's like just like kind of feeling that cooking with purpose.
Yeah.
And I think like you said, I think my future, I just want to continue to like be motivated and have a reason to be good, feeding people good food and having the opportunity. That's really what's gonna just make me happy.
Yeah, that's good. Like, I think, that's also my passion. Like, I think actually, like, the reason why I wanted to open the restaurant back then was actually like a podcast I heard with Matthew Kenney.
Okay.
Yeah, because he talked about like the importance of showing people healthy food and showing them the way, and that just made it for me because like I don't have the passion that much in creating the food. Like I like making food. I can do services and stuff like that. But when I found out that like all my talking about healthy food, people just like listen and it went out. But when you actually stand there and making them food, they're like, wow, like this is what you're talking about. It's like, yeah. Like it's actually pretty good. Like
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then and like just saying that, like it's like it just kind of made me think about like we did this event in with Matthew with Plant Food and Wine. We did an event, and it was up like it was on this like really cool ranch, this winery, and there was all these chefs from from like just every kind of like known restaurant, and it was so cool. Like we were serving food, and like we'd get like these people come up to the table, like, and they come and eat and be like, oh, this is amazing, like what is this, and it's like, and just being able to like have those experiences with having like chefs that like aren't known for making the food, and then coming and be like like and having it and like having a conversation and opening their mind. It's like giving that, it's like they have to have something to touch, they have something to grab. I mean, I had a a really great experience with Massimo Bottura, where we did an event with with him in New York and a couple other chefs, and I fed him one of our like plant-based cheeses, and he was like, what, this isn't cheese? Like, wow. Like and it was like and it was just like so cool, because it's just like you can see people like that's like their brain working all of a sudden, like, wait a second, this is so different, and like and still tasty and still delicious. And I think we're getting past that, where, like I said, vegan isn't a bad word anymore. It was just like people would go, oh, it's vegan, and it's like, oh, well, it tastes like cardboard and has no seasoning, and it does, it's not cooked very well, because now there's real chefs that have real training cooking the food this way. It's not like, oh, there's no one, I don't know how to do this, and nobody knows how to do this. So there's a lot of people that just kind of like, we're just going at first try, and kind of they can do a lot of experimenting, and a lot of that experimenting didn't really work out very well for our business or our movement or our like what we're doing, So we're lucky to have talented people like you and Neil and all these people around, Matthew Kenney, who's like to see it and put it through, and and make it taste good and make it look good and make it interesting and make people want to come back and eat it again, not going, oh, I had vegan food once, it was it tasted like it was tofu, and it was like a little soft and didn't have anything in it, and it had this edamame, and it was like it's like frozen beans, and like it's like or I had hummus, and it was like weird, and it was like, okay, so it's not like that anymore. So we're kind of we're in the future finally,
I think it's like, I know what you mean, and we're in the future, and we're even probably way in the future still. Like we still get people in, and we serve them a sauce, and then they're like, what kind of hummus is this? Like, like not all vegan stuff needs to be hummus. Like
exactly.
Thanks for the talk, Scott. Like,
of course,
big pleasure.
I got to get back to Copenhagen sometime and see you.
Yeah, please stop by, and
well, Neil should come here, or I should come there. We can all do some cooking together.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That'd be awesome. That'd be incredible. Cool. All right. Well,
awesome. Say when you're here, and like you can stay at our place on our couch as well.
Awesome. Be careful what you wish for.
You said you were never home, right?
True. Very true. All right. Well, yeah, it was great to meet you and great to talk. And,
Yeah,
we'll touch. Sure.
yeah, thank you, man. Yeah.
All right. Take care. Bye.
And so my heartbeat plays to your song, and it never gets old. It never gets old. Feel my heart ache when you do me wrong. Now I just wanna know. I just wanna know. The chains I bear are often on my feet, and it makes me wanna cry when I see you come near. And in the dark you said you only wanted me, and then you make me feel alone. You don't care, but now I'm in so deep and I can't let you go. Show me love and I'll show you more. It seems to me you only lie, and I tried so hard to make you wanna see someone else can never be like me. Well, let me in, let me go. And so my heartbeat plays to your song, and it never gets old. It never gets old. Feel my heart ache when you do me wrong. Now I just wanna know. I just wanna know. Do you love me? Do you want me? Show me more. Show me more. Do you love me? Do you want me? Show me more. Show me more. And I tried so hard to make you wanna see someone else can never be like me. Well, let me in, let me go. And so my heartbeat plays to your song, and it never gets old.